Okay, so solving today's question for the day, we've just made a timeline over here. On 1st June, the board declared a dividend of $3 per share. Just before the dividend was declared, the share price was $32. Okay. Then we come forward. 1st September was set as the record date, and 29th August was the ex-dividend date. Now, record date is basically the date on which, if your name is entered in the shareholders register, you will get the dividend. Otherwise, you will not get the dividend. That is what your record date means. But basically, for any transaction to get recorded, basically there is a settlement cycle. So the settlement cycle is 2 to 3 days. That is why we have been given the ex dividend date as 29th August, which means that if you had purchased before 29th August, then as on 1st September, your name will be entered in the shareholders register and you will be entitled to receive dividend. However, if you have purchased the shares after 29th August, in that case, the settlement cycle will not get completed. On 1st September, your name will not be entered in the shareholders register. Therefore, if you are purchasing shares after 29th August, you will not be entitled to dividend. Okay, that is the basic premise on which this question is based. The question asks us that if you had purchased the share on 30th August, then what would the price be? And if you had purchased the share on 1st June, what would the price be? Okay, so I hope you guys have read the question once and that you are comfortable with this timeline that we have drawn. The basic concept I have already explained to you. All the shareholders whose name is entered in the shareholders register on the 1st of September, which is the record date, all of them will get dividend. But your name will not be entered in the shareholders register unless you have purchased the shares before 29th August because of the settlement cycle involved. So now if you purchase the shares on 1st June, now 1st June is basically the date when, if you are purchasing the shares, you will also be entitled to dividend. So the share price will trade at a cum-dividend price. Therefore, the share price will be $32, which is the share price just before the dividend was declared, plus the $3 of dividend per share. So now, after the dividend was declared, you will notice that the share is trading somewhere close to $35. The share price will trade at the cum dividend price. So if you are purchasing on 1st June, if the purchase was on 1st June, then you would have paid $35 for the share. And if you had purchased on 30th August, basically you will end up purchasing at the ex dividend price. Why the ex dividend price? Because yes, I agree the record date has yet not come, but even if you purchase the shares on 30th August, you will still not be entitled to receive that dividend because as on 1st September, your name will not get entered in the shareholders register. Therefore, after 29th June, immediately the share price will adjust to the ex dividend price, which means that just before the ex dividend date, the share price was trading at $35. Now you will have to remove the impact of dividend, which is $3 per share. So now on 30th August, if you were buying the shares, you would pay the ex dividend price, which is $32, because now you are not entitled to dividend. After 29th August, the seller will only get the dividend, the buyer will not get the dividend from the company. That is why it will now trade at the ex dividend price of $32. So if you were purchasing the share on 30th August, you would end up paying $32. And if you were purchasing the share on 1st June, you would end up paying $35. This is the ex dividend price, and this is the cum dividend price. So I hope you are comfortable with this concept. I'll see you again in a fresh video on a fresh question pretty soon.